Jessica sat in the grand drawing room of her family mansion, her eyes red from days of mourning. The walls, adorned with family portraits, now seemed to close in on her, each face a reminder of the monumental legacy she was expected to uphold. The room was silent except for the soft ticking of the ornate grandfather clock. She stared blankly at the intricate patterns of the Persian rug beneath her feet, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. The lawyer, a stern man in his 50s with a solemn expression, cleared his throat, bringing Jessica back to the present. "Ms. Jessica, are you ready to proceed with the reading of your father's will?" he asked gently, his voice echoing slightly in the large room. Jessica nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, Mr. Matthews. Please go ahead," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Matthews opened the leather-bound folder in front of him and began to read aloud. "I, Benjamin Roberts, being of sound mind and body, hereby declare this to be my last will and testament." As he read, Jessica felt a lump form in her throat. The words seemed surreal, like a dream she couldn't wake up from. Her father had always been a pillar of strength and wisdom, and now he was gone, leaving her to navigate the turbulent waters of the family business on her own. "To my daughter, Jessica Roberts, I leave the entirety of Roberts Enterprises. I trust in her capability to lead and continue the legacy I have built with great effort and dedication." Jessica's heart raced. She had a degree in business administration, but that was years ago. Since then, her life had revolved around raising her daughter, Melanie. Now, with Melanie grown and interning at the company, Jessica felt a mix of pride and fear. How would Melanie react when she discovered her boss was actually her mother? After Mr. Matthews finished, he looked at Jessica with a hint of sympathy. "Miss Jessica, your father had great faith in you. He believed you were the best person to carry on his work." Jessica managed a weak smile. "Thank you, Mr. Matthews. I'll do my best to honor his trust." Left alone in the vast room, Jessica stared at the framed photograph of her father on the mantelpiece. His eyes seemed to follow her, filled with the silent expectation of a legacy continued. She sighed deeply, her mind a whirl of doubts and insecurities. "How will I ever manage this?" she whispered to herself. Just then the door creaked open and Laura, the family's loyal housekeeper, stepped in. Her presence was a comforting constant in Jessica's life. "Jessica, may I come in?" she asked softly. Jessica nodded. "Of course, Laura. Please join me." Laura sat beside her, her eyes filled with concern. "I heard about the will. Your father was a great man, and he believed in you." Jessica looked at her with tear-filled eyes. "But what if I can't do it, Laura? What if I fail him?" Laura took Jessica's hand in hers, squeezing it gently. "Your father prepared you for this, even if you don't feel ready. Trust in yourself, and you'll find your way." Jessica shook her head. "I don't even know who to trust at the company. I don't know the people there well enough to know who has my back." Laura's eyes twinkled with a knowing smile. "As my grandmother used to say, only those who live under the blanket know where the fleas are. You need to see things for yourself, Jessica." A spark of an idea flickered in Jessica's mind. What if I go undercover? Disguise myself as someone else to learn the true nature of the people at the company. Laura's smile widened. "I think that's a brilliant idea. You'll see the truth without the veil of your title." Jessica felt a sense of determination rising within her. "But how do I do it? Where do I start?" "We'll start by making you unrecognizable," Laura said with a grin. "We'll get you a uniform, teach you the ropes of cleaning. You'll blend in perfectly." That night, the two women worked tirelessly. Laura showed Jessica how to use the cleaning supplies, the proper techniques for scrubbing floors and dusting shelves. They laughed together as Jessica fumbled with the mop, but slowly she began to get the hang of it. "Remember, no direct eye contact," Laura advised. "Stay as invisible as possible. It's the only way you'll truly see what's going on." Jessica nodded, absorbing every detail. The decision to go undercover as a janitor was daunting, but her resolve to honor her father's legacy was stronger than ever. The next morning, Jessica donned the simple uniform Laura had prepared. She put on a mask and glasses, covering her face completely. She stared at herself in the mirror, almost not recognizing the woman staring back. Gone were the designer clothes and polished look. In their place stood a humble cleaning lady, ready to uncover the truth. Laura squeezed her hand reassuringly. "You're ready, Jessica? Everything will be fine." With a deep breath, Jessica stepped out of the mansion, her heart pounding with a mix of nerves and excitement. Arriving at Roberts Enterprises, she felt the weight of her father's legacy on her shoulders. Laura had already smoothed the way, introducing Jessica to the cleaning staff as a new hire. They accepted her without question, thanks to Laura's influence. "Good morning," Laura greeted her, handing her a mop and bucket. "Your first task is to clean the lobby. It's usually quite busy in the mornings, so you'll have plenty of opportunity to observe." Jessica nodded, gripping the mop handle tightly. "Thank you, Laura. I hope I can do this." "You'll be fine," Laura assured her. "Remember, you're here to learn. Just keep your head down and do your job." Jessica set to work, her eyes discreetly scanning the bustling office. She noticed how some employees barely acknowledged her presence, while others outright ignored her. As she cleaned, she observed a man nonchalantly toss a crumpled piece of paper onto the floor, even though a trash can was just a few steps away. Jessica's irritation flared. She called out, "Excuse me, sir, the trash can is right there." The man turned around, his face twisted in annoyance. She glanced at his name tag, Nathan. "Who do you think you are, telling me what to do?" Nathan snapped. "I can throw my trash wherever I want. Your job is to clean it up." Jessica felt a surge of anger but kept her voice steady. "I'm just asking you to use the trash can. It makes everyone's job easier." Nathan stepped closer, his voice rising. "Don't tell me how to do my job. Just do yours. Clean up my mess, and while you're at it, clean yourself up too. You look like trash." Jessica's cheeks burned with humiliation as Nathan threw his coffee cup at her feet, the liquid splashing onto her shoes. She clenched the mop tighter, her knuckles white. This was her father's company, and this man was acting as if he owned it. She bit her tongue, forcing herself to stay calm. "Understood," she managed to say, bending down to clean the spilled coffee. As she worked, she couldn't shake the feeling of injustice. How many other employees treated the cleaning staff this way? She knew she had to remain focused on her mission, but the encounter with Nathan left her seething. Later that day, Jessica spotted Melanie in the hallway. Her heart ached to reveal herself, but she knew it wasn't the time. Melanie was deep in conversation with another intern, her face lit with enthusiasm. Jessica watched from a distance, a bittersweet pride swelling in her chest. When Melanie walked past her, Jessica instinctively lowered her head, not wanting to draw attention. "Excuse me," Melanie said politely as she stepped around Jessica's cleaning cart. Jessica mumbled an apology, her voice muffled by the mask. Throughout the day, Jessica continued to observe the employees. She noticed the stark difference in how they treated her. Some were polite, like Melanie, while others, like Nathan, were openly hostile. It was a harsh awakening to the realities within Roberts Enterprises. In the afternoon, while cleaning the conference room, Jessica overheard a conversation between Nathan and another manager. She quietly moved closer, positioning herself behind a large potted plant. "We need to push this deal through before the new owner gets wind of it," Nathan said, his tone low and conspiratorial. The other manager nodded. "Agreed. We can't afford any delays. The new leadership might not be as flexible." Jessica's suspicions deepened. What were they planning? She needed more information, but knew she had to be careful. As she continued cleaning, she made mental notes of everything she heard. By the end of her first day, Jessica was exhausted but resolute. She returned home, her mind racing with thoughts. Laura was waiting for her in the kitchen. "How was your first day?" she asked, pouring them both a cup of tea. "Eye-opening," Jessica replied, sinking into a chair. She recounted her encounter with Nathan and the overheard conversation. Laura listened intently. "Nathan has always been a troublemaker. Your father never fully trusted him." "Now I see why," Jessica said, sipping her tea. "I need to find out what he's up to. He's clearly hiding something." The next morning, Jessica was back at Roberts Enterprises, ready to continue her undercover mission. She went about her cleaning tasks, her eyes and ears open for any signs of Nathan's schemes. In the break room, she overheard a group of employees discussing the new intern. "Melanie is sharp," one of them said. He knew she's got a lot of potential. "She reminds me of Mr. Roberts," another agreed. Same determination. Jessica's heart swelled with pride. Melanie was proving herself just as she had hoped. But she knew the road ahead would be tough, not just for her, but for Melanie as well. As the days passed, Jessica gathered more information. She watched Nathan closely, noting his interactions and movements. She knew she had to be meticulous. One misstep could blow her cover and jeopardize everything. One afternoon, as she was cleaning the office corridors, she saw Nathan entering a private meeting room. Jessica waited until he was inside before positioning herself near the door, hoping to catch snippets of the conversation. The stakes were high, and she couldn't afford to miss any detail. Inside, Nathan's voice carried through the slightly ajar door. "Yes, I know she's the chairman's granddaughter," he said, his tone casual yet calculating. Jessica's heart skipped a beat. He was talking about Melanie. She quickly pulled out her phone, setting it to record the conversation. Nathan continued. "Melanie thinks she's keeping it a secret, but nothing escapes me. All it took was a little attention, a few compliments, and she's practically putty in my hands. Once she's in love, marriage won't be far off. And once we're married, taking over Roberts Enterprises is just a matter of time." Jessica's blood ran cold. She had to stop herself from barging in. She clenched her fists, trying to steady her breathing. Nathan laughed, a cruel edge to his voice. "Hell, maybe after marrying Melanie, I could charm the mother too. That would speed things up nicely." The conversation ended abruptly, and Jessica quickly moved away from the door, her heart pounding with a mix of rage and fear. She replayed the recording, feeling a sense of dread. Nathan's plan was far more insidious than she had imagined. Determined to gather more evidence, Jessica spent the rest of the day observing Nathan. She noticed how he hovered around Melanie, his demeanor shifting from condescending to charming in an instant. He made her laugh with jokes, helped her with her work, and was always there, just a bit too attentive. Jessica watched as Melanie smiled at Nathan, completely unaware of his true intentions. It pained her to see her daughter so oblivious, but she knew Melanie's innocence made her an easy target. That evening, Jessica met Laura at home. The two sat at the kitchen table, the tension between them palpable. "Laura, you were right. Nathan is worse than we thought," Jessica said, her voice trembling with anger. Laura listened intently as Jessica played the recording. "He's planning to marry Melanie and take over the company," Jessica explained. "And he even hinted at seducing me to speed things up." Laura's face hardened. "We need to stop him, Jessica, but we need more than just this recording." "I know," Jessica replied. "Tomorrow, I'll start collecting any documents that might prove his intentions. We need a solid case before we confront him." The next day, Jessica resumed her cleaning duties, her eyes and ears on high alert. She discreetly searched Nathan's office, finding documents that hinted at financial discrepancies and manipulation. She took photos of everything, her determination growing with each new piece of evidence. During a break, Jessica noticed Nathan talking to another manager. She quietly moved closer, positioning herself to overhear their conversation. "Melanie is the key," Nathan was saying. "Once she's under my control, everything else will fall into place." Jessica's heart ached. She had to protect her daughter, but she needed to be strategic. She couldn't let her emotions jeopardize the mission. That evening, Jessica and Laura reviewed the evidence together. "We need to present this to the board," Jessica said, "but we can't rush it. We have to be thorough." Laura nodded. "We'll need to prepare carefully. Nathan is clever, and he'll try to discredit us." Jessica felt a wave of exhaustion. "I just hope we can do this before he gets to Melanie. She's still so young, so trusting." Laura placed a reassuring hand on Jessica's. "We'll protect her, and we'll protect your father's legacy." The next few days were a blur of covert operations. Jessica continued her janitorial duties, all the while gathering information. She listened in on conversations, collected documents, and watched Nathan's every move. One afternoon, as Jessica was cleaning near the executive offices, she overheard Nathan on the phone again. "Yes, everything is proceeding as planned," he said. "Melanie is falling for me, and once we're married, Robert's enterprises will be ours. No one can stop us." Jessica recorded the conversation, feeling a grim satisfaction. She had enough evidence now, but the real challenge would be presenting it in a way that would convince the board. That evening, Jessica and Laura laid out their plan. "We'll call for a special board meeting," Jessica said. "I'll present the evidence, and we'll expose Nathan for what he is." Laura nodded. "It's risky, but it's the only way." Jessica took a deep breath. "You know that after your grandfather passed away, he left the company to me. I've been trying to understand the business better to see who I can trust. So I decided to go undercover as a janitor." Melanie's eyes widened in surprise. "Wait, what? You? Cleaning floors? That's kind of hard to picture." Jessica smiled briefly, but then her expression turned serious. "Yes, it was unusual, but it gave me a clear view of what's really happening. And what I found out, Melanie, is very disturbing." Melanie leaned forward, intrigued. "What did you find?" "First, tell me, what do you think of Nathan?" Jessica asked, studying her daughter's reaction closely. Melanie blushed slightly. "Nathan? He's great. He's been really helpful. Always there when I need advice. He's warm, charming. Honestly, I think I might have feelings for him." Jessica felt a pang in her chest, but remained composed. "Melanie, there's something you need to know about him." She handed Melanie her phone with the recording queued up. "Listen to this." Melanie hesitated, then pressed play. As Nathan's voice filled the room, her expression shifted from confusion to shock. "Melanie thinks she's keeping it a secret, but nothing escapes me. All it took was a little attention, a few compliments, and she's practically putty in my hands." When the recording ended, Melanie's face was pale, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Mom, is this real? Did he really say all that?" Jessica nodded, her heart aching for her daughter. "I'm so sorry, Melanie. I know this is hard to hear, but you needed to know the truth." Melanie stood up, pacing the room. "I can't believe it. He seemed so genuine, so caring. How could I have been so blind?" Jessica reached out, her voice gentle. "It's not your fault. Nathan is very skilled at deception, but now that you know the truth, we need to act." Melanie stopped pacing, her face set with determination. "What do we do now?" Jessica explained their plan to expose Nathan at the board meeting. "We have the recordings, the documents. We just need to present it all to the board and make sure they understand the full extent of his deceit." Melanie took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. "Okay, let's do it. I want to help." The next morning, Jessica and Melanie arrived at the office early, prepared for the most challenging day of their lives. They reviewed the evidence one last time, ensuring everything was in order. "Remember, we have to stay calm and collected," Jessica reminded her daughter. "Nathan will try to discredit us, but the truth is on our side." Melanie nodded, her face a mix of anxiety and resolve. "I know, Mom. I'm ready." They entered the boardroom together. The atmosphere was tense, filled with murmurs and curious glances. Nathan, seated confidently at the head of the table, raised an eyebrow when he saw Melanie. "Melanie, what a surprise to see you here. I didn't know you were the chairman's granddaughter." Melanie gave him a cold, dismissive smile. "I'm sure you didn't," she replied, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Nathan's smile faltered, but he quickly recovered, turning his attention to the rest of the room. "All right, let's get this meeting started. I believe the new chairman will be joining us shortly." Melanie stood up, addressing the board members. "The new chairman will be here any moment. Please be patient." As she spoke, Jessica, still in her janitor's uniform, entered the room. The board members chuckled, clearly amused by the sight. "Is this some kind of joke?" one of them sneered. Jessica ignored the comment, stepping to the front of the room. She removed her mask and glasses, then shrugged off the cleaning uniform, revealing a sophisticated and elegant outfit underneath. Gasps of surprise filled the room. "My name is Jessica Roberts," she began, her voice steady and authoritative. "For the past 3 days, I have been working undercover as a janitor in this company. What I have observed has been enlightening." The room fell silent, all eyes on Jessica. She continued, "Many of you treated me with indifference or outright disdain, simply because you saw me as a lowly janitor. This attitude towards those you perceive as beneath you is something that can change. However, the true nature of a person, their character and integrity, is not so easily altered." Jessica glanced at Nathan, whose face was growing pale. "Some people, however, go beyond mere rudeness. Some people scheme and deceive to achieve their own ends." She nodded to Melanie, who pressed play on a recording device. Nathan's voice filled the room, detailing his manipulative plans to marry Melanie and take over the company, even hinting at seducing Jessica to speed up the process. The board members exchanged shocked glances, the weight of Nathan's words sinking in. As the recording ended, Jessica spoke again. "This is the man who has been leading you. This is the man who seeks to control Robert's enterprises for his own gain." Nathan sprang to his feet, his face flushed with anger. "This is outrageous. These recordings are taken out of context. You can't believe this nonsense." Jessica remained calm, her gaze unwavering. "The evidence is clear, Nathan. You have betrayed this company, and you have betrayed the trust of everyone here." Melanie stood beside her mother, her voice firm. You used me, Nathan. You thought you could manipulate me and my family, but you underestimated us. Nathan's composure cracked. Melanie, But the board members were no longer listening. The chairman rose, his face stern. Nathan, the evidence against you is overwhelming. You are hereby suspended pending further investigation. We will not tolerate such deceit and manipulation within Roberts Enterprises. Nathan's eyes darted around the room, seeking support but finding none. He was escorted out, his protests falling on deaf ears. Jessica turned to the board. I trust you will handle this matter with the seriousness it deserves. My father built this company on a foundation of integrity and respect. We must uphold those values. As the meeting adjourned, Jessica and Melanie felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. They had done it. They had protected their family's legacy. Back at home, Melanie sat down, still processing everything. Mom, I can't believe how close I was to falling for his lies. Thank you for saving me. Jessica hugged her tightly. We're a team, Melanie. We'll always look out for each other. The days that followed were filled with work. Jessica and Melanie, now more united than ever, worked tirelessly to mend the fractures within the company. They held meetings with staff, reinforcing the importance of respect and integrity at every level. Jessica addressed the employees, her voice carrying the weight of her father's legacy. Roberts Enterprises is more than just a business. It's a family. And in this family, we treat each other with respect, regardless of our roles. We must move forward with this principle guiding us. Jessica's efforts began to bear fruit. The company started to heal, and a new sense of camaraderie emerged among the employees. The board, now fully supportive of Jessica's leadership, backed their initiatives and helped steer the company towards a brighter future. One evening, Melanie stayed late at the office, catching up on work. The office was quiet, with only a few lights illuminating the large workspace. She was engrossed in her work when she heard a noise behind her. Turning around, she saw a man with a menacing look in his eyes, approaching her swiftly. "Who are you?" Melanie demanded, her voice trembling. The man smirked. "You don't need to know. All you need to know is that your time is up. I'm here to ruin your life and your mother's." Melanie's heart raced. She quickly reached for her phone and pressed the emergency button, setting off the office alarm. The loud sound startled the attacker, but he lunged at her, knocking her to the ground. She struggled, kicking and screaming, trying to fend him off. Within moments, her colleagues, alerted by the alarm, rushed into the room. Seeing the commotion, they quickly intervened, pulling the attacker off Melanie. He tried to fight back, but the combined effort of the employees subdued him. "Call the police!" one of the employees shouted, holding the attacker down. Melanie, shaken but determined, grabbed her phone and dialed 911. "There's an intruder in our office. He's been detained, but we need the police immediately." The police arrived within minutes, arresting the attacker. Jessica, who had been at home, received a frantic call from Melanie and rushed to the office. She found her daughter surrounded by concerned colleagues and police officers. "Melanie, are you okay?" Jessica asked, her voice filled with worry as she embraced her daughter. Melanie nodded, though she was visibly shaken. "I'm fine, Mom. Just a bit rattled." The police led the attacker away, and Jessica and Melanie followed them to the station for questioning. As they sat in the waiting area, Melanie turned to her mother. "Who would do this? Who hates us so much they'd hire someone to kill me?" Jessica's mind raced, trying to piece together the events. Suddenly, a name flashed in her mind. "Nathan," she whispered. Melanie looked at her, confusion and realization dawning simultaneously. "But he's already been exposed and removed from the company. Why would he go this far?" Jessica's eyes hardened. Revenge. He has nothing to lose now. We humiliated him and took away his power. This is his way of trying to get back at us. After a tense wait, a detective approached them. Mrs. Roberts, Melanie, we have some news. The attacker has been interrogated, and he confessed. Nathan hired him to harm you, Melanie, and by extension, destroy your mother's efforts. Melanie's face paled. I can't believe it. He really wanted to ruin us. Jessica squeezed her daughter's hand. The detective continued. We've already issued a warrant for Nathan's arrest. We'll make sure he pays for this. The detective continued. We've already issued a warrant for Nathan's arrest. We'll make sure he pays for this. Nathan was quickly apprehended. The day of his trial arrived, and Jessica and Melanie sat side by side in the courtroom. The prosecution presented a strong case with evidence that left no doubt about Nathan's guilt. As the jury read the verdict, guilty on all counts, Nathan's face twisted with rage. You think you've won? Nathan spat, his voice venomous. You and your precious daughter. This isn't over. I curse both of you. You'll never be safe, and you'll never know peace. Jessica held Melanie's hand tightly. We're not afraid of you, Nathan. Your threats mean nothing. Nathan was dragged out of the courtroom, still shouting curses. His malevolent words hung in the air, but Jessica and Melanie remained resolute. They had faced worse and come out stronger. Back at Roberts Enterprises, Jessica and Melanie took immediate steps to strengthen security. They installed additional cameras throughout the building and hired a team of security personnel to ensure the safety of everyone, especially Melanie. We can't take any chances, Jessica said during a meeting with the head of security. I want constant surveillance and round-the-clock protection for Melanie. The head of security nodded. We'll make sure she's safe, Mrs. Roberts. Melanie, though shaken by the threats, maintained her determination. I won't let him scare me into hiding, Mum. We have to keep moving forward. Jessica admired her daughter's bravery. You're right. We'll take every precaution, but we won't let fear dictate our actions. In addition to physical security measures, Jessica and Melanie worked closely with their legal team to fortify their position. They met with their lawyers regularly, discussing every possible legal action to ensure Nathan could never threaten them again. We need to make sure he faces the maximum penalty, Jessica said firmly. We can't leave any room for him to escape justice. The lawyers agreed, intensifying their efforts. They collaborated with the police and prosecutors, providing all the evidence necessary to bring additional charges against Nathan for hiring the attacker and threatening witnesses. The days leading up to the final court hearing were filled with preparation. Jessica and Melanie reviewed every detail with their lawyers, ensuring they were ready for any argument Nathan's defense might present. We've covered all our bases, one of the lawyers assured them. Nathan won't get away with this. Jessica nodded, though the weight of the situation pressed heavily on her. We have to make sure. We can't let him hurt anyone else. The morning of the hearing, Jessica and Melanie entered the courtroom with a sense of purpose. They were joined by their lawyers, who carried stacks of documents and evidence. The atmosphere was tense, but Jessica felt a quiet strength within her. As the proceedings began, the prosecution laid out the additional charges against Nathan. The evidence was damning, and the witnesses' testimonies painted a clear picture of his malicious intent. Nathan, shackled and surrounded by guards, glared at Jessica and Melanie with pure hatred. You think you've won? You're just prolonging the inevitable. I'll be back, and you'll regret ever crossing me. Jessica met his gaze with calm determination. You won't ever have that chance, Nathan. We're making sure of it. Melanie, her voice steady, added, Your reign of terror ends here. The judge, after reviewing all the evidence and hearing the testimonies, delivered the final verdict. Nathan was found guilty on all additional charges, including hiring an attacker and threatening witnesses. His sentence was extended significantly, ensuring he would spend many years behind bars. As Nathan was led away, still cursing and shouting, Jessica and Melanie felt a profound sense of relief. They had faced the worst of his threats and emerged victorious. Back at Roberts Enterprises, in the days that followed, Jessica and Melanie shifted their focus to building a united and strong leadership team. They recognized that the company's future depended on a cohesive group of dedicated individuals. "Melanie, we need to bring everyone together," Jessica said during one of their planning sessions. "We need to foster a sense of unity and shared purpose." Melanie nodded. "I agree, Mom. Let's start by organizing a series of meetings with the leadership team. We need to hear their thoughts and make sure everyone is on the same page." The first meeting was scheduled for the following week. Jessica and Melanie entered the conference room, greeted by a mix of curious and apprehensive faces. Jessica began, "Thank you all for coming. We wanted to take this opportunity to listen to your concerns and ideas for the future of Roberts Enterprises." The room was silent for a moment before one of the senior managers spoke up. "We've been through a lot recently. Trust has been shaken, but I believe we can rebuild if we work together." Jessica nodded. "That's exactly what we intend to do. We want to create an environment where everyone's voice is heard and valued." Another manager added, "We need clear communication and a shared vision. If we can align our goals, we can achieve great things." Melanie took notes, her expression thoughtful. "We also want to encourage innovation and creativity. Every idea matters, and we want to hear them all." As the meeting progressed, the atmosphere began to shift. The initial tension gave way to a more collaborative and open dialogue. By the end, Jessica and Melanie had a list of actionable items and a renewed sense of optimism. "We're off to a good start," Jessica said as they left the conference room, "but we need to keep this momentum going." Melanie agreed. "Let's schedule regular meetings with the entire team. We should also have informal gatherings to build relationships and trust." In the following weeks, Jessica and Melanie organized a series of team-building activities and informal get-togethers. They encouraged employees to share their ideas and experiences, fostering a sense of community and belonging. One afternoon, Jessica and Melanie hosted a company-wide town hall meeting. Jessica addressed the gathered employees, her voice filled with conviction. "We are committed to creating a positive and inclusive work environment. Your contributions are vital to our success, and we want you to feel empowered to share your ideas and take initiative." Melanie added, "We're all in this together. Let's support each other and work towards a common goal. Together, we can achieve greatness." The response was overwhelmingly positive. Employees appreciated the transparency and felt more connected to the company's mission. A sense of camaraderie began to flourish, and the energy in the office shifted to one of collaboration and mutual respect. As these positive changes took root, Roberts Enterprises began to see tangible results. Productivity increased, and employee satisfaction levels soared. The company's reputation, once tarnished by Nathan's actions, started to recover. Jessica and Melanie monitored the progress closely. They were heartened by the initial successes, but knew that maintaining this positive trajectory required ongoing effort. "We're seeing the fruits of our labor," Jessica remarked during a strategy meeting, "but we can't become complacent. We need to stay vigilant and continue to nurture this environment." Melanie agreed. "Let's continue to invest in our people. Training, development programs, and recognition for their hard work will go a long way. Their dedication paid off. Roberts Enterprises not only regained its footing, but began to grow and innovate in ways that surpassed expectations. The company's success was a testament to the power of unity and trust. Wow! What a journey Jessica and Melanie went through. From uncovering betrayal to rebuilding trust, they showed incredible resilience and determination. It's a powerful reminder of how unity and integrity can overcome even the toughest challenges. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What part of their journey resonated most with you? Drop your comments below and let's discuss. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more compelling tales. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.